Hello and welcome. My name is Sam, and you are watching Expressive Syntax, the show where together we learn about programming. Today, we're doing more Ruby Koans. Ruby is one of my favorite programming languages, and koans are a good way to learn a language or practice language. They're a bunch of puzzles in test form, so with little blanks left. So to do koans, you read the test and fill in the blank and make it pass. Today, we're going to be working on the about methods. So we're going to be learning about methods. Exciting. So let's see. Before we get started, I want to actually run the tests and see where we're at. Yes. So koans about methods is what we're looking at. Line 10. So here we go. Test calling global methods. And we have an assert equals, and here's the blank. The blank will be equal to my global method, and we're passing in 2 and 3. Oh, here we go. My global method is up above here. So my global method just adds A and B together. So when we call my global method with 2 and 3, it runs this code, and the result is 5. Does that make sense? Test calling global methods without parentheses. So you can, in Ruby, unlike in some languages, you can leave off parentheses, which can be nice for stylistically. So let's see. My global method, we called it without parentheses, and the result is still 5. Let me run my test and make sure we're still. Oh no! What is this? I shouldn't be so confident. What is this error? Expecting about methods. Line 21. Oh, okay, we're doing good. We're on to the next thing. This is supposed to give us an error, I believe. So okay. Here we go. We are using eval below because the example code is considered to be syntactically invalid. Sometimes missing parentheses are ambiguous. Okay, so the error that we were getting was syntax error, unexpected integer, expecting keyword do, or curly braces, or so, and this was on line 21. Yeah. So on line 21, we're calling the same assert equal. So right before we set result equal to my global method, and then pass result to the assert equal method. But if we try to do that all on the same line and we leave off parentheses, it's ambiguous. So Ruby doesn't know what you mean. It could be interpreted this way, where we're passing 2 to my global method, and the result of that, and 5 and 3 to assert equals, or it could mean we call my global method passing 2 and 3, and pass the result of that to assert equal. So in situations like this, where you're calling a method inside of a, like, as you're calling another method in the same line, you need parentheses, is what this is trying to teach us. Okay, so it wants us to rewrite the eval string to continue. Okay. So, I mean, we could do it like above, but that's boring. Let's use parentheses to make it less ambiguous. I think we can take off the eval too if we do this right. So let's save that and run it and see if we're good. So Ruby line 36. Yeah, okay, cool. So sometimes we need parentheses, but we don't always. If you're not sure, put them on there. Doesn't hurt. Wrong number of arguments is not a syntax error. but a runtime error. Okay, so the difference between a syntax error and a runtime error is when it happens. So syntax error, it'll like check before you even start to run it and be like, oh, syntax error. But a runtime error will only be seen if you actually get to that line in the run. So calling global methods with wrong number of arguments. Okay. So exception equal assert raise blank do my global method, and we call it without passing anything in. So this will be wrong number of arguments error. I don't remember exactly what the name of the error is, but I think that's what this will be. And then it wants to know what the message is as well. So let's actually look at the error and see what the error says. Oh, right now it's a fill me in error. So I think it's something like wrong number of arguments error. Something like that. That might be the message. Let's see what it says. Uninitialized constant. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. All right. Answer class or model. Oh, okay, so it's actually expecting this to be right. Assert raise expects a class or a model. I was hoping I'd be able to put in just some random thing and see what the error is, so that I could, because I don't know. Like I could look it up, I guess, or I could just have the test tell me. In order to do that, I need to put in something here. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Ruby wrong number of arguments error. What is that? Is it a runtime error? Argument error. Let's try argument error. Oh, that's one word. Yeah, maybe. Okay, cool. So yeah, it is an argument error. And the message that we get is what I typed before, wrong number of arguments. So it is the message. I remember the message, but not the actual name of the error. Okay, so let's try that. Line 41. Cool. So assert raise, my old method. Okay, so this should be the same. It should also be an argument error, but now we're passing in too many arguments. Right? Because it took A and B, which is 2 arguments, and we're trying to pass in 1, 2, 3. And before we were passing in 0, which is also incorrect. So the message will also be wrong number of arguments. Oops. Save, run it. Yeah. And actually, I want to just demonstrate something. So it tells you how many arguments you passed in, and also how many it expected. So it expected 2 arguments, and we passed it in 3. That's also useful. Information. Always read the error messages. The error messages are often useful. Method with defaults. A comma. So this is a method. We're defining a method here, and we pass it A, and we could pass it B, but if we don't, the default value is this symbol default value. Makes sense. And what we return is just an array of A and B. So calling with default values. So we call the method with defaults. So we call it, meaning that we don't pass in anything for the second argument, for B. We just let it be default. So here, the array that it gives back is 1 and default value. But here, on line 55, we pass in 2, so it doesn't use the default value if you pass in a value. So we can say 2, what it gets back. Cool. Line 65, making progress. Okay, so now we have a method with var args. I think that means variable arguments, like a variable number of arguments. Calling with variable arguments. Method dot var args dot. Wait, what? Method with var args dot class. Method? I don't know. Is that a thing? Method to equal array. Oh, of course. It's asking what this gets back. It's not there's no method. That doesn't make sense. So it's like method with var args. We call it. What do we get back? Just a list of arguments. Which in this case, when we call it with no passing in nothing, it gives us back the empty array. Okay, cool. That makes sense. So what we want is not, we're calling .class, it's array. Interesting. Okay, cool. And that's, okay, so this symbol means give me any number of arguments, and I'll turn those arguments into an array. Let's see if that bears out. So here class is array. What we get back is empty array. When we pass in one argument, args is the array of 1. We pass in 2 arguments. Args is the array of 1 and 2. Yes? We good? Line 80. Yeah, okay, cool. So if you want a method to take an arbitrary number of arguments from 0 to 100, you can do the star args. And it doesn't have to be args. We can call this whatever we want, right? We can say foo and foo, and all those tests still pass, right? Yeah, still on line 80. Cool. Let's see. Method with explicit return. A non-return value. Return value. Another with non-return value. Method with explicit return. Yeah, so this is useful. I use this often. I can put an explicit return, and if it gets to this line, if it gets to return, it returns that value and does nothing else. It just skips the rest of the thing, of the method. So method with return value, we call it, we get back return value. So I want to point out, because this is something that is sometimes confusing to new Ruby programmers. Ruby has implicit returns. You might be familiar with return syntax if you came from Java, for example. Like in Java, you have to say return for every method that you want to return something. Otherwise, it returns void. With Ruby, there's the behavior is different. So, for example, this method with defaults, we don't have to say return, but it does return this array. It returns just the last thing that the method, the last value that the method has, right? This last line. Cool. So, but we can also be explicit. We can be like return this thing. Okay, so without explicit return, this is just what I'm saying. Just what I was just saying. We don't need to say return, but it does return this return value. Right? Yep. We're on line 101. So, yeah, it does this, returns the last thing. Okay, so my method in the same class takes A times B. calling methods in the same class. Oh, okay, so before, as opposed to a global method, which is outside the class. This is outside the class. Where was I? Oh, I lost my place. Here we are. This method is in the class that we're looking at. To do that, you just use the method name, my method in the same class. So 3 times 4 is, and we're doing 3 times 4, 12, right? 3 times 4. Yes. You don't have to be good at math to be a good programmer. Is that right? 105. Yeah, cool. Calling methods in the same class with explicit receiver. Okay, so if we want to be explicit about which class we're calling this on, we don't have to, but we can say self dot method in the same class. Self refers to the class that we're currently in. So it's the same, I believe. 12. Yes. Oh, I didn't want to do that. C cones. I wanted to run my cones. There we go. 116. My private method. Okay, cool. So this is, we define a method, but we can say that it's private, which means that classes outside of classes outside of this one won't be able to call it. It's only for use inside of this class. And that's useful because classes, you might want to hide the implementation details of a class so that it's easier to change later. It's hard to change something once you've exposed it and people are using it, right? So keeping things private is often a good practice. Only make things public if you need to. Okay, so calling private methods without receiver. My private method, right. So again, it's like internal class, so we don't need to do anything, we just say it, call it. A secret is what it returns. Calling private methods with an explicit receiver. Okay. Yeah, so you can call public methods on a class, but when you try to call a private method on a class, you get an error. Once again, I don't remember what exactly the error is. Let's just put something in here and let it tell us. No method error. Of course, that makes sense. It looks for the method, but it doesn't find it because it's private, so we get a no method error. Cool. And the message that we get is that it's a private method. Yeah, Ruby errors are so helpful. I love it tells you exactly what is going on. Where is it? Yeah, it's like no method because it's a private method. It tells you exactly what the private method is, what class you're calling it on, so that you can either call a different method or make it public or like fix it in some other way. Yeah, Ruby methods are great. I mean, Ruby errors are great. Most Ruby methods are also great, but not all of them. Anyway, okay, so now, we have a class, making it more complicated. We have a class with two methods, a name method and a tail method, and the name method is public and the tail method is private. And that's because, so there's two ways to make something private. You can like say this is a private method and pass it the symbol for the method name, or you can just stick this private thing in your class, and then everything that comes after it is private. I bet this is exactly what we're doing now. So calling methods in other objects require explicit receiver. Okay. So we say dog.new, and assign it to the variable Rover. So you have a dog named Rover, and we want to know Rover's name. This is confusing because Rover seems like a name. Anyway, we're not passing anything, but we're sending the name message to Rover. That's another way to say it. We're calling the name method on Rover. We're sending the name message to Rover. What Rover gives back is Fido. Calling private methods. Oh, let me check that. Pretty confident, but good to make sure. 147. Yeah, cool. Calling private methods on other objects. So, yeah, like before, if we try to do rover.tail, it'll give us that no method error because tail is private. No method error. Hey, and we're done. That was fast. That was quick. That was easy. So now, the next thing is keyword arguments. I think I'm gonna be done, but let's just do a quick preview of keyword arguments. Keyword arguments. What is this about? Method with keyword arguments. Oh, it's more about methods. This is like a special kind. Oh, keyword arguments. I understand. Right, so you can name your arguments. Like before we were just passing like A and B. But in Ruby, you can say, yeah, okay, cool. You can say, you can give your arguments names. We'll get into that next time on expressive syntax. I'm planning on streaming again next Thursday at 8 p.m. So catch me online. I'll be at twitch.tv/expressive syntax, all one word. You can catch me streaming, not screaming, at Twitch. Or if you go to YouTube, I'll post these on YouTube as well. I think it's just youtube.com. Well, search for expressive syntax on YouTube and you'll find me. Anyway, this has been fun. Thanks for doing some coding with me. I will see you next time. Bye!